The Finch West LRT has reached one of the most important milestones yet. Operational control has been officially handed over from Metrolinx to the Toronto Transit Commission. This transfer, which took place over the weekend of September 6th and 7th of 2025, marks a turning point in the long and sometimes rocky story of this long-awaited transit project. While the public is still waiting for the day that they can finally ride this line, this change of hands means the focus has shifted decisively from construction and testing under Metrolinx to active operational readiness under the TTC. In other words, the builders have mostly stepped back, and the transit operator Torontonians know and rely on every day is now in the driver's seat. This is not a small development. It signals that the project is approaching the final stages before opening, and that the TTC can now begin preparing for the responsibilities of actually running the service. To understand why this matters, it's worth looking back at what the Finch West LRT represents for Toronto's transit network. Stretching 11 kilometers along Finch Avenue West, from Finch West subway station at Keele Street all the way to Humber College, the line features 18 stops, dedicated tracks in the middle of the roadway, modern light rail vehicles, and improved pedestrian and cycling infrastructure along the corridor. For Northwest Toronto, an area historically underserved by higher-order transit, this project is nothing short of transformational. Thousands of daily riders who currently rely on buses crawling through heavy traffic will soon have a faster, more reliable alternative. At its core, the Finch West LRT is designed to be a lifeline for commuters that have long been left waiting in the cold for better service. While Metrolinx is in charge, everything is abstract. There are renderings, press releases, endless corporate-sounding talk about delivery partners, and community integration. But when the TTC is in charge, suddenly it becomes real. The TTC has to train operators. They have to set schedules. They have to deal with breakdowns, signal malfunctions, and the angry commuter banging on the door because the LRT pulled away 30 seconds too early. The TTC is accountable to Torontonians in a way Metrolinx simply isn't. You can't yell at Metrolinx in person, they hide behind glossy press conferences. Now, the transfer of operational control to the TTC is also significant because it represents a shift in focus. Metrolinx, as the provincial transit agency, is responsible for overseeing the design, construction, and delivery of projects like this. The TTC, by contrast, is the day-to-day operator of Toronto's bus, streetcar, and subway network. Handing over the keys to the TTC means that Metrolinx believes that the infrastructure is sufficiently advanced enough and reliable for the TTC to begin running the line in a controlled environment. It's the point where the rubber meets the road, or in this case, the steel meets the rail. For riders, it's an assurance that the opening day is no longer an abstract promise that's years away, but something that can be tangibly prepared for by the city and its operator. This isn't just a ceremonial transfer either. Operational control means that the TTC is now responsible for crucial functions like training operators, scheduling test runs, and practicing emergency responses, and managing the control center that oversees the entire line. Already, TTC operators have been put through rigorous training, with multiple cohorts of drivers and control specialists graduating through the program. Training has included everything from learning the unique mechanics of driving the new Alstom light rail vehicles to coordinating with traffic signals and safety boarding and unloading passengers at the line's modern, accessible stops. Now that the TTC is officially in control, this training will expand and accelerate, ensuring that there's a full roster of prepared staff before opening day. One of the most important upcoming steps under TTC control is what's known as the Revenue Service Demonstration, or RSD. This is essentially a 30-day trial where the entire line operates as if it were open to the public, except no passengers are allowed on board. Vehicles run on the regular schedule, operators follow all procedures, and the control center tracks operations exactly as it would during real service. This stage is crucial because it stress tests the system under the same conditions it will face once passengers are actually riding. Every glitch, delay, or miscommunication that shows up during RSD can be identified and corrected before the public experiences it. It's the difference between a dress rehearsal and opening night. According to Metrolinx officials, RSD for the Finch West LRT could begin as soon as the end of September 2025 if ongoing testing continues to go smoothly. And if the TTC can get through this without any major meltdowns, then, and only then, will they consider opening the doors to actual passengers. The importance of this moment is amplified when compared to the recent struggles of Toronto's other major LRT project, the Eglinton Crosstown. The Eglinton Crosstown has been delayed for years due to complicated underground construction, software integration issues, and disputes between Metrolinx and its private sector construction partners. By contrast, the Finch West LRT is largely a surface-running line, built with more straightforward construction techniques and simpler signaling systems. Metrolinx's CEO has even pointed out that the Finch line has benefited from lessons learned the hard way from Eglinton Crosstown, and the relative simplicity of the project should mean a smoother path to opening. The transfer of control to the TTC reflects that confidence. It suggests that Finch West is far enough along that the TTC can now put it through its paces without being held back by unresolved construction issues. Beyond the technical and operational details, the transfer to TTC control is also important from a public accountability perspective. For months, Northwest Toronto residents have been asking when they'll finally be able to ride the Finch West LRT. Construction began years ago, traffic disruption has been constant, and patience has worn thin. When responsibility rests solely with Metrolinx, the public often feels a gap in communication. Once the TTC is in charge, however, the operator that riders already interact with daily becomes the face of the project. Torontonians are used to holding the TTC accountable when buses don't arrive on time or when subway delays pile up. Having the Finch West line officially under TTC control brings it closer to that same realm of transparency and accountability, which helps to rebuild trust with communities who may have felt forgotten all this time. The historical context here is also worth remembering. The Finch West LRT was first announced over a decade ago, alongside other transit expansion plans for Toronto. While projects like the Spadina subway extension to Vaughan and the Crosstown LRT have attracted more headlines, the Finch West line has often flown under the radar. Yet its importance can't be overstated. Humber College alone, as the western terminus, is a massive generator of ridership. Thousands of students, faculty, and staff travel to and from the campus every day, many of them relying on unreliable bus service along Finch. For them, the LRT will be a game changer. Beyond that, the line ties directly into Line 1 at Finch West Station, improving connectivity and reducing reliance on car travel in a part of the city that desperately needs more transit choices. Looking ahead, the TTC's takeover means we're entering the home stretch. The timeline is now clearer than it ever has been. If RST begins in late September as expected, the TTC will spend at least a month fine-tuning operations. Assuming that no major setbacks arise during that phase, the line could realistically open to passengers by the end of 2025. For a project that once felt like it might be delayed indefinitely, that's a refreshing sense of certainty. Riders, however, should temper their excitement with patience. Transit agencies almost always prefer to err on the side of caution, ensuring safety and reliability before committing to a public opening date. Still, the finish line is now in sight, and the TTC's involvement is the clearest sign yet that the wait is almost over. In broader terms, the Finch West LRT represents something bigger than a single transit line. It is part of a much larger push to expand Toronto's rapid transit network into areas that have long depended on buses. Projects like the Finch West LRT, the Crosstown LRT, and the upcoming Ontario line are all pieces of a puzzle that will reshape how Torontonians move across the city. Each new line adds capacity, improves connectivity, and takes pressure off the overloaded parts of the existing system. For the northwest of Toronto in particular, the Finch West line, this will help balance the scales, bringing rapid transit closer to where people actually live and work, rather than concentrating it in the downtown core. At the end of the day, the Finch West LRT is now a TTC asset, which means it's about to face the real test, not whether it could be built, but whether it could be operated day in and day out without turning into another Crosstown-style fiasco. The communities along Finch Avenue have waited long enough. They don't care about delivery models, they don't care about lawsuits, they don't care about milestones. All they care about is getting from Humber College to the subway without needing to budget an extra 45 minutes for traffic. That's it, and that's the bottom line. The Finch West LRT has had a long, complicated, and at times messy history that reflects both the promise and the pitfalls of transit building in Toronto. Originally conceived as part of the Transit City Plan in the late 2000s, the line was meant to provide fast, reliable east-west service along Finch Avenue West, one of the busiest bus corridors in the city. The line has faced major political hurdles right from the start. In March 2010, work was delayed, and later that year, then-Mayor Rob Ford declared Transit City dead, cancelling all the light rail projects including Finch West. But Toronto City Council pushed back, and by 2012, reinstated the Finch West LRT into the city's long-term transit plans. The back and forth cost the city years, meaning that what could have been built in the early 2010s and opening in perhaps 2020 was already pushed far down the line. When it came to timelines, the Finch West LRT was supposed to be straightforward. Without heavy tunneling like the Eglinton Crosstown, the project should have been simpler to deliver. The first official opening date was set for the end of 2023. That, of course, didn't happen. The date slipped to the first half of 2024, then to the end of 2024, and as of late 2024. TTC leadership suggested the earliest possible opening would be in June of 2025. At this point, the line has been almost done for well over a year, frustrating both riders and local businesses along Finch Avenue who have had to endure endless construction. The Finch West LRT story so far is also one of delays, ballooning costs, and unmet promises, but also a project that is tantalizingly close to the finish line. At around $3.4 billion and nearly 2 years late from its original promise, the line is finally nearing the point where riders can use it. Let's not forget the original cost of this transit project, which was supposed to be $1 billion in 2011 when it was first announced. This became $2.5 billion, and now it's at least 2.5 times what it was promised to cost, and that's a lot more than inflation has been if you've been keeping track. This is about the same amount of inflation as the condo market in Toronto during the same time period, and we could all see what is going on with that now. If the Finch West LRT does open in 2025, it will bring desperately needed relief to one of Toronto's busiest corridors, but it will also serve as yet another lesson in the dangers of political interference, poor project management, and overpromising. The project's history also shows how something meant to be quick and affordable turned into yet another long expensive saga in Toronto's transit playbook. The transfer of control from Metrolinx to the TTC may not be flashy. It didn't come with ribbon-cutting ceremonies or opening day fanfare, but it is one of the most significant behind-the-scenes milestones in the life of any major transit project. It marks the moment when the builders step aside and the operators step forward. It's a baton pass in a relay race, and now the TTC is running the anchor leg. For Toronto, that means the finish line is closer than ever, and soon the residents of Northwest Toronto will be able to board sleek new light rail transit vehicles instead of waiting endlessly for crowded buses stuck in traffic. After years of construction chaos, lawsuits, and delays, that is a milestone that is worth celebrating somewhat. However, it cannot be ignored that there is a shocking gap in planning, because it's not about budget or construction difficulty alone, it's a basic design decision. You're already building the line, you've already spent billions, and then this extension doesn't even connect to Yonge Street and the main subway network at Finch Station. Instead, we get a partial solution that improves some local commutes, but leaves a huge east-west network gap, the very kind of gap Toronto commuters have been begging to have fixed for decades. The line is in the end this shiny brand new transit project that's supposed to be a godsend for Northwest Toronto. And what did we get in the end? Well, 11 kilometers of tracks that end at Finch West Station. And that's it. That's the big connection. Meanwhile, Yonge Street, the spine of Toronto transit, the street that actually matters for east-west commuters, is left glaringly empty. In other words, if you are traveling east to west in the northern part of the city, you will still have to transfer to the 36 Finch West bus and then onto either the 39 Finch East or 53 Steeles East bus. The LRT will eventually open, and this is pretty much inevitable, but the fact that we still don't have an official opening date is a blatant, ridiculous oversight. It's not technical, it's not construction related, it's bureaucracy, plain and simple. And in the meantime, commuters are left to stew in traffic, dream about shiny trains, and practice patience. So let's recap. Metrolinx built it, TTC's gonna run it, riders just want to actually use it, and Doug Ford? Well, he'll show up for the ribbon cutting, slap a promise delivered sticker on it, and pretend like the last 10 years didn't happen. Classic. I hope that you liked the video. If so, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed and want to be notified of new videos that are released, please click on the Art Toronto button here. This is the video that I would recommend for you to watch next, and I'm sure that you're going to love it. Here's the playlist for all of the latest in transit news and views that you're going to find very informative and interesting. And finally, here is the latest video. Thanks for watching, and happy transiting.